Colleagues, before we begin our proceedings, I'd like to remind you of the special measures in place today.
Pursuant to order made on Tuesday, May 26, 2020, the application of Standing Order 17 will be suspended for the current sittings to allow members to practice physical distancing. Members desiring to speak and address the chair may do so from any seat in the House.
I will ask that all members tabling a document or moving a motion sign the document and bring it to the table themselves.
I wish to inform the House that pursuant to order made on Tuesday, May 26, 2020, I sent a notice calling the House to meet this day on Monday, June 8, 2020. I sent each member a message explaining the reasons for this recall. I now lay on the table the notice calling the House to meet. Conformément à l'ordre.
Pursuant to order made on Tuesday, May 26, 2020, the House will now proceed to the introduction of government bills.
By Mr. Rodriguez, moves for a leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act Respecting Additional COVID-19 Measures. Cette motion est députée.
This motion is deemed adopted. Ms. Qualtrough, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez, moves that the bill be now read a first time and be printed. This motion is deemed adopted.
First reading of this bill, première lecture de ce projet de loi.
Quand ce projet de loi sera...
When will this bill be read a second time?
When Parliament resumes, à la prochaine séance de la Chambre.
At the next sitting of the House.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Discussions among the parties, and I hope there is agreement to proceed in the following manner. I move, seconded by the Minister of Canadian Heritage, that pursuant to the order adopted on April 20, 2020, Bill C-17, an act respecting additional COVID-19 measures, be disposed as of follows. A, the bill be ordered for consideration at second reading later this day. B, lorsque la Chambre...
When the House begins debate on the motion at second reading, 2 members from each recognized party and 1 member from the Green Party can speak on the said motion for 20 minutes at most, followed by 10 minutes for questions and comments, provided that members can share their time with another member at the end of the period provided for this debate, or when no more members rise to speak, whichever comes first. All questions necessary to end the second reading stage be voted on without more ample debate, and provided if a recorded vote is requested and it not be deferred. If the bill is adopted at second reading, it be referred to a committee of the whole, deemed study, deemed having been the subject of a report without amendments, deemed adopted at report stage, and deemed read a third time on division.
Pursuant to order made on Tuesday, May 26, 2020, Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Monsieur Guibault, moves.
I believe that the Honourable Government House Leader sought unanimous consent to move this motion, so I don't think it's...
I would tend to agree with the Honourable
just want to make
the Leader. I'm just looking at this. One moment here. We'll just get that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was kind of sitting there wondering, okay, why am I going this route? It's nice to have experience on the floor. The Government House Leader has asked for consent. Do we have the consent of the sitting parties? We don't. We don't have consent. Oh, okay, well, we'll... Okay, I believe the Government House Leader has precedence. We'll let... Oh, appreciate that. Thank you. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions among the parties, and if you seek it, I hope you will find unanimous consent to adopt the following motion. That Bill C-17, an act respecting additional COVID-19 measures, be divided in two bills, that Bill C-17 be entitled an act respecting the disclosure of information for the purpose of a one-time payment to persons with disabilities, and consists of Part 3 of the said bill, and that Bill C-18 be entitled an act respecting additional COVID-19 measures, and consists of all the remaining portions of the said bill. The Bill C-17 be disposed of as follows.
A, the bill be ordered for consideration at second reading later this day. B, when the House begins debate on the motion at second reading of this bill, a member from each recognized party and one member from the Green Party can each speak on the said motion for at least 20 minutes, followed by 10 minutes for questions and comments, provided that members can share their speaking time with another member. At the end of the period provided for this debate, or when no more members rise to speak, whichever comes first, all questions necessary to end the second reading stage will be voted on without more ample debate or amendments, provided that, if a recorded vote is requested, it not be deferred. C, if the bill is adopted at second reading, it be referred to a committee of the whole, deemed study at the committee of the whole, deemed having been the subject of a report without amendments, deemed adopted at report stage on division, and deemed read a third time and adopted on division. That study of this bill at the report reading will either be set at the next sitting of the House. That printing of this bills of C-17 and 18 allow the law clerk and the parliamentary advisor be allowed to make administrative changes or corrections as necessary to give effect to the present motion. The Honourable Minister, does he have the unanimous consent of the House to move this motion?
Nous n'avons pas de consentement unanime.
There is no unanimous consent.
House Leader, or the Opposition Leader, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, and I have two unanimous consent motion that I hope you will find support for. Conservatives, of course, believe that Parliament should be sitting, and had we been sitting normally, we could have debated this bill. We could have facilitated the Government House Leader's request, but of course the Government has refused to allow this House to do its work as it normally would. Indeed, this announcement that the government is making about the proposal the government has as it relates to people with disabilities was announced several days ago, and this House could have been entertaining this legislation as early as Monday. So I ask for the unanimous consent of the House for the following motion in order to allow the House to debate the legislation the Government House Leader introduced today. My motion reads that notwithstanding any standing or special order or usual practice of the House, when the House adjourns, it shall next meet at 3 p.m. later this day.
Does the Honourable Member have unanimous consent of the House for the motion? Okay, I am afraid we don't have unanimous consent. Okay, the Honourable Government House Leader.
We are here today with a clear opportunity to help people with disabilities. The chance was offered to everybody, and the Conservatives say no. This should be noted, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I invite the Honourable House Leader to go back and rewind the tape and listen, because members on this side said yes to the House of Commons meeting later to this day, and it was members of the Liberal Party who said no.
We're getting into a point where we're debating back and forth. I want to remind the honourable members a point of order is usually something on the standing orders that we see is not being followed in the House, and I want to hear why it's not being handled, or why it's not being handled in House. L'honorable.
The honourable member for La Prairie. Thank you. I ask for the consent of the House to table the following motion, that the House be suspended until we have signaled that the House can resume with the approval of House leaders. I would like to clarify with the member from La Prairie. Are you seeking unanimous consent? Inaudible for the interpreter. The honourable member, does he have unanimous consent of the House to move this motion? No, he does not have unanimous consent.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
There is no agreement amongst the representatives of all recognized parties to govern the proceedings today.
Order made on Tuesday, May 26, 2020. The House stands adjourned until Wednesday, June 17th, at the conclusion of the proceedings of the Special Committee on COVID-19 pandemic.